Hello there and welcome. This is Dr. Dicken Weatherby. Welcome to one of my spotlight presentations, and today we're going to be focusing on pancreatic function. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Dr. Dicken Weatherby. I'm the CEO and founder of Optimal DX, and my background and experience has been in this world of functional blood chemistry analysis, and I'm super excited to be sharing this information with you today. So, the pancreas. Small organ with an outsized role in both digestion and metabolic regulation. And in this presentation, I'm going to show you how to use functional blood chemistry analysis to interpret common lab biomarkers. I'm also going to teach you how to recognize early patterns of dysfunction and develop some targeted strategies for intervention. So our focus will be on identifying subtle shifts that precede overt disease so we can intervene earlier and support better patient outcomes. All right, so the pancreas has a dual identity. On the exocrine side, it produces digestive enzymes like amylase and lipase that break down carbohydrates and fats, ensuring that nutrients can be absorbed effectively. And then on the endocrine side, it regulates blood sugar balance through the hormones insulin and glucagon. And this balance is essential for stable energy and metabolic health. And dysfunction in either the endocrine or the exocrine side can trigger a cascade of downstream issues, from poor nutrient absorption and bloating to insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, and even type 2 diabetes. So conventional lab interpretation is designed to detect disease, not necessarily optimize health. And so a patient may fall within a normal range, but still experience symptoms of dysfunction. So a functional blood chemistry analysis approach uses narrower, evidence-informed optimal ranges to catch subtle changes early. And this allows us to act before dysfunction hardens into disease. And it gives us a framework for connecting biomarker changes to real clinical patterns. So how does this work with exocrine function from pancreatic function? So how does this work for the exocrine function of the pancreas? So this is an area that is often overlooked until symptoms become advanced. And so the purpose of functional blood chemistry analysis is to get in there early, find out what's going on, and see if we can make adjustments early on so the patient doesn't have to go and down the progress towards an overt pancreatic infection or inflammation in order for us to be able to correct function. So we're going to be looking at serum amylase and serum lipase. These are classic biomarkers used in the allopathic world to rule out acute pancreatitis. But they also provide insight into chronic insufficiency when viewed through a functional lens. What's not so commonly known is that persistently low normal values may actually suggest declining enzyme output, while mild elevation may reflect the early stages of pancreatic irritation. And that's kind of how we can look at these two important enzymes. Although not part of routine blood work, fecal elastase is also worth noting. It provides direct evidence of enzyme insufficiency, a condition called pancreatic insufficiency, and a number of the functional labs that we work with do provide a great assessment for fecal elastase. On the endocrine side, we've got blood glucose and insulin. These are essential and central biomarkers for the endocrine side of pancreatic function. Fasting glucose gives us a snapshot of short-term regulation, while fasting insulin tells us how hard the pancreas is working. Hemoglobin A1C reflects longer-term glucose exposure, and together these values can be used to calculate the HOMA2-IR index. So that will be fasting glucose and fasting insulin can be used to calculate the HOMA2-IR. We do calculate that from these two biomarkers within the Optimal DX platform, so You just put those two biomarkers in there and we'll calculate not only the HOMA2-IR, but the HOMA2%S and %B, which is the endocrine output, and also how sensitive your cells are to insulin. So these are powerful measures of insulin resistance. And using these biomarkers collectively help us identify subtle metabolic changes long before type 2 diabetes develops. So what about some patterns here? Patterns matter more than isolated numbers, and when amylase and lipase are starting to get elevated, start to think about acute pancreatic stress or acute pancreatic inflammation. You could see just mild elevations might begin the earliest stages of this irritation and inflammation all the way through to amylase and lipase numbers that are outside of the normal range. But low normal levels, particularly when paired with symptoms like bloating, steatorrhea or fat in your stool, or nutrient deficiencies, may actually point towards enzyme insufficiency. And this is where functional interpretation really adds value. Conventional labs may dismiss a result as normal, while a functional approach sees early warning signs. So you want to correlate this well with the digestive symptoms, like I said, the bloating, the steatorrhea as well. From the endocrine side, now we're looking more at the sort of blood sugar dysregulation side of things. The endocrine side offers a clear progression. Beginning stages of elevated glucose above an optimal, still within normal ranges, potentially with a normal insulin, suggests early dysregulation, what we might call dysglycemia. When insulin starts to rise but glucose remains normal, the body is compensating. The pancreas is working harder to maintain balance. This is what we might call a compensatory phase. Now, when both fasting glucose and insulin are starting to become elevated, and this could be moving out of the optimal ranges, still potentially within normal ranges, we start to get the earlier stages of insulin resistance. And that's where that HOMA2-IR score can really come in handy. The patient's fasting glucose and fasting insulin may be normal, but the HOMA2-IR is pointing and going, hey, pay attention. This is the earliest stages of insulin resistance are starting to emerge. And of course, as those levels get further and further away from optimal, now insulin resistance is becoming firmly established. And finally, when glucose is high and insulin is low, it suggests beta cell burnout. This is where the pancreas can no longer keep up. And recognizing these patterns can be really, really helpful for intervening at that right stage. Additional biomarkers beyond those ones that we've just mentioned, you might want to look at the triglyceride to HDL ratio, simple but powerful indicator of insulin resistance and cardiovascular risk. C-peptide, this is another biomarker that can be used in the HOMA2 scores. It's either fasting insulin or C-peptide, and this gives us an insight into endogenous insulin production. So also tracking hemoglobin A1C trends shows how glucose regulation evolves over time. And then inflammatory biomarkers like CRP and ferritin also add depth, as systemic inflammation often accompanies metabolic dysregulation. So what about our clinical applications? By using our functional interpretation, we can actually detect insulin resistance often many years before conventional thresholds would flag a problem. And this is wonderful news, because why wait until someone is a diabetic? Use all the tools that we have necessary or have available to us, diet, supplement, exercise, all of those things, and start applying them early so that you can start seeing functional change and moving that patient back into a state of optimal regulation of their glucose system. We can also recognize digestive enzyme insufficiency even when standard labs appear unremarkable. And that's another thing that we can do is go, you know what, I'm seeing enzyme insufficiency, I'm seeing it in the symptomology that you're presenting with, and I'm also seeing it in your blood work. This is an opportunity for us to maybe address some dietary issues that you've got going on, and maybe even recommend some pancreatic enzymes. So most importantly, we can now connect pancreatic dysfunction to broader systemic patterns, from cardiovascular risk to gut health to neurocognitive changes. And this is the real power, I think, of functional blood chemistry analysis. In terms of interventions, these should match the dysfunction we identify. For exocrine issues, digestive enzyme support may be warranted along with dietary changes to reduce fat malabsorption. This is something that you'll notice or your patients will report. For endocrine dysfunction, nutritional strategies that balance macronutrients, reduce refined carbohydrates are key. Also, stress management, sleep, physical activity all support glucose regulation when done appropriately. And then finally, targeted supplementation from chromium to magnesium to digestive enzymes. All of these can really help restore balance. I think it's also very, very important to monitor and follow up with your patients. One of the great things about the Optimal DX platform and the software that we've built is that we can track biomarker trends over time. So we can see, by tracking biomarkers over time, we can see whether interventions are working and adjust as needed. Pancreatic health is dynamic. It's not static. So track biomarkers over time, and then you can see whether your interventions are working and you can make the adjustments as needed. Functional ranges provide a benchmark, and pattern recognition shows whether dysfunction is resolving or progressing. And this ongoing assessment transforms lab testing from a diagnostic snapshot into a clinical roadmap. Some closing thoughts. In summary, the pancreas is central to both digestive and metabolic health. Functional analysis of blood chemistry results gives us the ability to see subtle dysfunction long before it escalates to disease. And then by recognizing patterns and intervening early, we can provide truly personalized care that improves outcomes and helps patients achieve lasting health. So unlock these deeper insights with Optimal DX. If you'd like to take your practice to the next level, visit optimaldx.com. We've got a very advanced platform that makes functional blood chemistry analysis easy and effective. We have tools to make adding blood work into the software seamless. We then go ahead and create these very detailed functional health reports, a version that you, the practitioner, can read, and then also we present a version for the patient. We can then go on with our recommendations to build personalized treatment plans, and then also use Optimal DX as your resource center for clinical education. We've got over 600 in-depth research articles. We have recordings and videos. We've got downloads. We've got an AMA, Ask Me Anything. So lots and lots of great things for you in our resource center at Optimal DX. So join our growing community of practitioners using Optimal DX to deliver precise, personalized care. And again, visit Optimal DX and get started today. So my name is Dr. Dicken Weatherby. Thank you so much for watching this short spotlight presentation on pancreatic function. It's great to be with you, and thanks for watching, and I look forward to sharing more information with you in a future video. Take care. Bye-bye.